What's going on, Niner fam? It is Peter Lucas. This is the Niner Fanatic Podcast, and it's Thursday. We're still having issues in Niner land. Like the 49ers have a losing record. The 49er fans are at each other's throat on who's to blame. It's kind of gotten ridiculous at this point, but. Um, But yeah, and I thought I was going to be able to go figure out this Instagram live thing, but it's not going to happen. So I'm just going to keep going, but we're going to get to it. Make sure you give the video a like. Make sure that you give it a subscribe. Make sure that you hit the bell so you get the notifications for when I go live. And we're just going to get started with the music.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I like to know.
are you ready for start time?
And once again, it is Peter Lucas. This is the Niner Fanatic Podcast, and yeah, it's a Thursday. It's Cowboys week. Hopefully, everybody is gonna get to it's prime time. Not that either one of these teams deserves to be on prime time right now, but it is what it is. And the But yeah, the 49ers the San Francisco 49ers will be facing the Dallas Cowboys this weekend. Huge rivalry game for all of my old heads out there that know about this rivalry and how long it's been going on. 49ers have dominated in recent years in this, and we would hope that would continue. The 49ers really need a win. That's where we're at. And if they even think about we're thinking about the playoffs and we're thinking about making the playoffs. We're thinking about there's still a chance. Remember, this team was 3-5, still made it to the NFC Championship game. So let's just keep our positive hats on. But we know that some things have to happen for the 49ers to get there and for them to be able to turn this around. And we're going to talk about some of those things today. I was on Bet. If you watched me and Beto and Brandon this last Tuesday, we talked about a lot of these things and what were some of the problems that we saw. It's my opinion, but I see a lot of reputable names out there kind of echoing the sentiments that I have around Shanny's. I think the disconnect is that I keep saying scheme. I think people get caught up on the word scheme because then people start talking about, oh, you're not seeing the tape. There's open guys and all this other stuff. But the reality is and we talk about execution of the scheme, that the players just aren't executing the scheme. That's why it's not Shanny's scheme. Okay, well, maybe we worded it incorrectly. Maybe we should have said that the way that Shanny is called, the play design of some of his plays, the way that he tells his quarterback to call the play, not just call the play, but to work the play and run the play. That's the part that needs to change. Maybe that's what we need to say, because I think people are getting caught up in, oh, Shanny's a genius as far as play calling, as far as play design, and the scheme itself is just designed it's quarterback friendly and all that kind of stuff. Well, I think it being quarterback friendly is the reason why our quarterback is struggling. It's a little bit too quarterback friendly in my estimation, and we don't see a lot of motions to create matchup issues for the defense. We don't to attack matchups, if you will. We don't see a lot of calling plays to get specific guys open. We see Shanahan has told us many, many, many times that his offense is predicated on beating the rules of the other team's defense. It's not supposed to. It's not supposed to target and matchup issues. It's not supposed to do that. So it doesn't matter who the 49ers play. The It's supposed to work regardless. And we're at a point right now where it's not working. I think that there's protection issues as far as calling the protections. It could be Brendel's fault. Could be Brendel's fault. We would like to see Brock, when we talk about Brock's growth, all offseason we talked about Brock having to take that next step and Shanahan allowing him to grow as a quarterback. Well, Shanahan says that, and you know what, before no, we're gonna go into it. The Shanahan says on Brio, we all remember the Tim Kawakami interview and how he talked about the quarterback's role in the pre-snap and how he doesn't like having the quarterback call his own protections. He wants to take that off his plate. He also wants to take off the quarterback's plate. He doesn't need to call audibles. The answers are built into the play. And he just needs to read the hots. Okay. That sounds great. It sounds great. And he also said, hey, if he wants to change the play, of course he can change the play. We've just never seen him do it. So he's telling Kawakami this. We've just never seen a quarterback do it. And and that includes Jimmy. That includes Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan said he wasn't allowed to do that. Brock Purdy just got on, and we're going to hear from Brock Purdy later on in the broadcast, but he got on there and said that he told you the way he's being coached. He said word for word that we don't need to call audibles. The answers are in the play. Pretty much echoing Shanahan's sentiment. So yeah, Shanahan might say, "Oh yeah, like they're free to do these things," but for some reason none of them are doing it. And that tells me that one, either they're afraid to go against Shanahan's play and they're afraid to be wrong, because if they're wrong, nobody wants to go into Shanahan's doghouse, or they're trusting in the fact that Shanahan is supposed to be a genius and he's just doing what he's told and what he's coached up to do. Either way, you cannot expect a 2.5-year quarterback, a young quarterback, to want to go against his coach. So if he's being coached up that way, that's just as good as telling him he can't do it. So people playing with words and basically saying Shanahan getting out there and saying, "Oh yeah, he can do it," that's a bunch of bull. I'm just going to be honest with you. Want to say what's up to people in the chat. Bebop, appreciate you coming through, fam. Always a pleasure. David McNiner, my guy. Make sure that you follow my guy McNiner on the socials, and him and Culp have a really good show. Make sure you check out their show. Give those guys a subscribe. But yeah, like, so the fan base is they're primed to really, you got your people that are turning on Shanny and want him fired today. Then you got your people that are saying Brock shouldn't be paid and that it's all Brock's fault. And I tweeted out, I think it was yesterday that I tweeted out. This is something that is going to go happen every single time Brock has a bad game, especially when you're 3-4. Is people are just going to forget all the good. They're going to forget that he was one of the top rated quarterbacks before the game. He was a top five PFF rated. For all the PFF people out there, he was top 5 in PFF rating for quarterbacks in the but now all of a sudden he has a bad game against the Chiefs, and it was a really bad game. but we're just ready to move off of him. We don't want to pay him. We don't want to pay him. They just shouldn't pay him, or he should accept less money. I'm just gonna tell everybody that's not gonna happen. Jed York already said they're figuring out a way to get him paid. He's gonna be they're probably going to pay him. And Shanahan, as much as we criticize, I know I criticize. I mean, they're 3-4. They are who their record says that they are. I know a lot of people are blaming the players, which is valid. I know that a lot of people they're blaming the new defensive coordinator. It's valid. He's not putting up the same statistics as last year's squad, and people didn't like that last year's squad. People want to blame. People want to even blame Staley for being here. People want to blame. We could go on and on about all special teams. I mean, they deserve a lot of blame as well. So when we're talking about all this blame going around, when we talk about all of it, just think about this. Who is responsible for there being so many issues across the team? Who's responsible ultimately? I would say, and I would think that on any other team, you would automatically say it's the head coach. There is no person with as many things that are going badly for the 49ers right now that would say it is anybody else's fault other than the head coach. It's got to be the head coach. You can't be bad on special teams. You're worse on defense. You're worse on offense. And I tweeted out they're worse in every single category. That all those things can't be true, and we not look at the head coach some kind of way. It can't be when we sit there and say it's execution and we're not executing correctly. Okay, well, that falls upon the head coach. If you don't have the players that can execute what you're running, then that means you got to change it up and run something that they can execute. I mean, it sounds simple. It sounds simple, but other coaches, you see them adjust to things all the time. I feel like Shanny is, and I'm not going to say he doesn't adjust because that's a whole nother can of worms we're going to go down because people are saying, oh, he's shown over and over that he can adjust. Yet no, what happens is he tries new things and then he ends up going back to his old ways because it's what worked. It's what worked. That's not evolution. That's not evolution. We have yet to see anything new implemented that Shanahan has implemented that has really worked. He's trying to implement the drop back game. It's been a failure. It's been a failure. Last year, it didn't look good. No matter what anybody tells you, no matter what the stats say and all the other stuff, the drop back game was easily criticized last season, and it's only gotten worse this year. And people are going to point to some more statistics. DVOA, they're this, that, and whatever in the league, and DVOA, that's a bunch of statistic nonsense. Because we're watching the game. If you watch the game and then you can see that it's not working. Just because a big play gets you some statistics doesn't, and it averages out does not mean that it's working. So it is what it is. But the fans are ready to turn on Shanny. I mean Steve Young is ready to turn on Shanny. Apparently people are saying that he's got the ear of the Yorks. So they said John York was at the practice yesterday. Was it yesterday or today? I can't remember. But there's concern. There is concern. And for whatever reason, there's more concern than the last time this team was 3-5. And maybe it's because the injuries were to the quarterbacks and not because it was just the offenses just look bad. Even when they had their people in, it hasn't looked good. They've had red zone issues all season long. Special teams has looked like a train wreck all season long. The defense, while I feel like the defense has gotten better, they're still giving up points. But I really feel like a lot of them giving up points is because, and normally you would say, oh, it's because they're on the field the whole day. But the 49ers are winning the time of possession battle too. And they're still losing games. They win a turnover battle, they're still losing. All the conventional ways that you look at football from a statistical standpoint, you would look at a lot of these box scores and you would say, oh, they must have won. They must have blown that team out. But it's the exact opposite. They're doing just enough to lose a lot of these games. So we can say there's a lot of things that are out there, and I got to say what's up to the people in the chat because there's a lot of people saying a lot of things. McNiner says Shanahan doesn't want the QB to audible. Doesn't matter who the QBs or what the defense reads, and that's true. He doesn't really want them to audible. I don't believe he does because if he did, we would see it. I mean, it's not a question. He has an iron grip on this offense. They do what he tells them to do. And Purdy basically told you today, and we're going to hear from him later, and I'll bring it up again then, that this is Shanahan's offense. This is Shanahan's baby. Even on defense, they do what he wants to do. They do what he wants to run. Another coordinator comes in from outside, he's not allowed to run his scheme. You're going to run Shanahan's scheme. And so we can, for better or for worse, I mean, at a certain point, people are going to question. And I think that a lot of people have gotten to that point. And for them to come out like they have this season, after when we were looking for growth, we've got the quarterback. Before, he wasn't consistent at the quarterback position. He's got a quarterback now. Full off season. There's no excuse. There's no excuses. And you could chalk it up to Purdy not playing well. Who knows what's being said in those meetings? People are killing Purdy for not hitting the open man. Who knows? It could be Shanahan telling him, for all we know. And I'm not saying that that's the case because I don't know. But we don't know what's being said in those meetings. That could be the game plan. And the 5-7 step drops, all that Mike Martz nonsense is like that had been out of the league forever. Like there's a reason. There's a reason. But we're going to still talk about it. And then McNiner says, I don't want Shanahan fired today. If he doesn't win a Super Bowl this year, then fire. I don't want him fired. This is the thing. I know it sounds like I want him gone. I just want him to get better. And I've talked about it many times. I just want him to get better. I want him to be humbled to the point that it's undeniable. But I still see people out there and fans out there making excuses for him. So he's not going to be humble enough to change it up. Because I mean, the fans haven't jumped off the bandwagon. So if they haven't jumped off the bandwagon, he's still probably searching for that one comment that says that he's still the man. He's like, oh yeah, we still got it. We still got it. It's these other people. It's these players. It's not me. And that's what every press conference of his sounds like. And we're gonna hear from him from what he said yesterday as well. But every press conference from him, very rarely do you ever hear him take any accountability for what happened out on the field. A lot of coaches will get out there and say, I have to be better. Like, I let those guys down. We let our team down today, and I've got to figure out a way to get these guys ready to play. But that's not Shannon. He's not going to do that. And it's going to be about execution. Every answer is going to be about execution, and we just have to execute the play. And there was just a lack of execution. Execution. Yeah. Okay. Well, if the guys aren't executing that much, then that's something that you need to look at. And why don't you have them ready to execute? But then McNiner says, what does Staley do? Our offense and special teams are a problem. The defense would be better if the offense could sustain drives and score TDs in the red zone. I agree with that because this defense is constantly not just playing from behind, but which keeps the whole playbook open. They never get to just pin their ears back and just rush the passer, which that's what this team is not built to come from behind. It's not built for that. We have one of the worst records coming from behind of any team in the league. It's so you have like at some point you have to look at it and you have to build your team to be ready for all things. Anything can happen in the NFL. If you're just making game plans to be up, I mean, what is the point of that? Like, there's gonna be a time when you're not. And quite frequently, when the 49ers get down, they not just that they stay down, it is a spectacular failure. We see some spectacular failures at that point when they get behind. It just snowballs. And you've got to look at the head coach. You've got to look at the head coach in that situation. Then we got, oh my God, Smitty in the house. Appreciate you coming through, fam. Niners need to let Amos play free safety and let Mustafa play strong safety or vice versa. Put Brown in. Jair, and I understand where you're coming from. I really do. Now, but I would say Jair is not bad as long as he identifies where he's going, what he's doing on that any given play, and he doesn't have to deviate. When he has to deviate, you can see it. He's in trouble. He doesn't have the athleticism to make up ground. So if they catch him off guard or he is or they get behind him, he's not catching up to the guy. Great. Let's just be real. I thought he was a strong safety coming out. I did not think that he had the speed to be a free safety. And so I was okay with them picking him, but I thought that the athleticism thing might be an issue. And yeah, the guy that I had picked, and I mean, he's not really starting either. He can't get on the field either. But I think I had shadow drafted Jordan Battle from I believe he's from Alabama that year. But at the very least, he was a free safety, and I just think he got stuck on the. He got drafted by the Bengals, and he got stuck behind Bates and behind at the time, and Bates and there was another guy, Dax Hill, I believe, that he just got stuck behind, but and he just can't get out of there. But a lot of fans want him to get some playing time. But either way, it is what it is. Jair Brown is. It's not that he's terrible. He's just not. We have two strong safeties at the safety spots. I questioned it from the very beginning. I even questioned the Hufanga pick initially because I didn't think he had the speed. And that's a common theme on this 49er defense is that speed is lacking. Speed has always been lacking. They don't really pick guys because they're fast. Until this season when they went and got Pearsall and Cowing, and they finally got some speed that they don't even want to use until there's so many injuries that they have no choice. But yeah, Jair Brown, I don't think he's a bad player. I think that he can fix that. there's some things that he could fix to be better in coverage, but he's not terrible. I don't think Mustafa. I would love to see him play more. He's honestly faster than Jair Brown, but he's just a trained downhill killer, and it would be a shame to take him out of that. And I don't know. I haven't seen him enough in coverage to know if he can do that. I mean, I think he's more of a linebacker prospect than Jair Brown, to be honest. And but Mustafa is a gem. I think that he can be really good. And then when you got when we're talking about Amos, this is a guy that couldn't get on a squad before now. So I don't know if we want to start him. I would rather start somebody that's been in house. I don't think that they can really come off of Brown and Mustafa right now. I just don't think they can. They're stuck. They're stuck because this is the way that they drafted, and they're not bad. Neither one of those guys is a bad player, but they're just you got two strong safeties, and so it makes it difficult when you want to play single high because neither one of them can go sideline to sideline. It is what it is. And then Smitty says the special teams is killing. Tell us something we don't know. Special teams is just, I mean, it's an abomination. For real. It is an abomination. Special teams, and there's no answer. There is no answer on special teams because there's so many injuries that guys are playing out of position. And yeah, there's no answer for special teams. It's going to be bad. It's not going to get any better. And these guys, I don't know what Schneider's doing. I don't know what he does every week from week to week because it doesn't look like these guys are prepared at all. Every week they come out here. And Shanahan doesn't really have an answer for it either. So at least I feel like Cowing has been serviceable. We're actually doing much better in the I believe in the return game than we were previously last year. So that's always a way to look at glass half full. Bebop says, "I got my money. I got my money on when Greenlaw and CMC come back, or at least especially after the bye week." Ah, man, I hope so. I hope so. I just want this team to win. I just want them to win. I want them to get to the playoffs. If they can just get to the playoffs, I'll be happy. Like I would love to see them get far and have a run, but I just need them to establish an identity. I need them. I need them to get to a point to where they know what they're doing from week to week, and just because they see a look out there on the field that they don't completely go away from what they should be doing and what they want to do. They're not imposing their will upon anybody right now. You're not they're regardless of the look, they used to just run it down your throat anyway. And they're not doing that anymore. They're not even trying. And people are going to say it's because they don't have CMC. Jordan Mason is a beast. And honestly, he has a better yards per carry, I think, right now than CMC did. So, but I want to talk about this Cowboys matchup and that both teams. This is another game. Last week against the Chiefs, Chiefs had a bunch of injuries on offense. Patrick Mahomes had a terrible day. Terrible day. And they still found a way to drop 28 points on us, even though he had a terrible day. And the Cowboys are a terrible team this year. They've got a ton of injuries. Let's talk about the Cowboys' injuries. They've got their kicker. They said he's probably going to to be active, but he hasn't practiced on Wednesday or Thursday. Deron Bland, their cornerback, he's out with a foot. Uh, and I believe their kicker is on jury duty. It's not even a an actual injury. But Deron Bland, their cornerback, star cornerback, he's out with a foot. He didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. From what I hear, they don't expect him to play. Kalen Carson, he's out with a shoulder. He practiced in full, so it looks like he's going to be a go. Ryan Flournoy, wide receiver, out with an ankle. He was limited both Wednesday and Thursday, but I would think he's probably going to go. Usually when they're limited, they're just kind of easing up. But Eric Kendricks, linebacker, out with the shoulder, but he's limited both days. He's probably going to play. Maris Lafau, another linebacker, is out with the shoulder. He practiced in full. He's probably playing. I'm guessing he's a special teamer. Micah Parsons, ankle, did not practice Wednesday or Thursday, and from what I'm hearing, he's probably not going to play. Jordan Phillips, defensive tackle, out with a wrist. He practiced in full, though, so he's both days, so he's probably going to go. John Stevens, tight end, out with the knee. He was limited on Wednesday, did not practice at all on Thursday. And then they got Nick Vigil, linebacker. I'm guessing he's a special teamer, out with the foot. Like, he was limited on Wednesday, did not practice on Thursday. So, it's pretty much CeeDee Lamb or bust, because they are also are. Let me look it up. You got it right here. Come on. Deuce Vaughn is, it looks like he's out for the season. He's inactive. They got quite a bit of people on the injured reserve. Earl Bostic, tackle. They got Brandon Cooks out. Chuma Edoga, a guard. He's out. DeMarcus Lawrence is out on IR. Jordan Phillips, defensive tackle. Yeah, he's on IR. Nathan Thomas, tackle, on IR. Sam Williams on IR. Marshawn Nealon is out. Another defensive end. Is that it? I guess that's the rest of their injuries. Yeah, that looks like it's it. But as you can see, they don't have much around CeeDee Lamb, and CeeDee Lamb is going to have to do a majority of the grunt work. I would say their running back, what's his name, Rico Dowdle. He's probably going to have to do take a majority of the carries. Ezekiel Elliott is a shade of his former self. They also have Hunter Lepke on this team, and he was a guy that I wanted the 49ers to be the heir apparent for Juice, but he's on the Cowboys. Sucks. But they've still got Jalen Tolbert, and that's really Jake Ferguson at tight end. Tyler Guyton, I had heard was dealing with an injury as well. They said they weren't sure if he was going to play. They got Cooper Beebe starting this year at center, which is a guy that I wanted for the 49ers. They said he's not doing too hot, but their whole offensive line is not doing too hot. So it's it may not just be him. And as far as the 49ers go, I think as far as the injuries go, we know that we are just decimated. We are decimated, but we did find out some good news today. It looks like Kittle's probably going to play this weekend. It looks like Debo's going to be. It looks like they're looking like he's going to play. Jawan Jennings, it looks like he's not going to play. and they're going to wait till he gets back from the bye. Um, so that's disconcerting. We still don't know about still don't know about what was his name? Well, Jake Moody's still out, and there was somebody else. Oh, Jordan Mason. We didn't really know he had limited practice. Like he practiced limited both days, Wednesday and Thursday. So he's probably I would think he's probably going to go. Chris Conley limited. He's probably going to go. Nick Bosa limited. He's probably going to go. Trent Williams had a full practice today, so he's going. He was just resting, and yeah, Debo had a light practice today. George Odom had a light practice today. We said Jake Moody. They're probably going to stick with Carlson, the kicker. George Kittle, yeah, had a limited practice. Juwan Jennings and Kevin Gibbons did not practice. Kevin Gibbons is kind of a big loss. I know people think of him as a depth piece, but he has played well. He plays well every single time he's in there. Now, with that being said, some of these injuries have caused Evan Anderson to finally, and then putting Ayuk on IR, turned out to they finally put elevated Evan Anderson to the 53 man, which we've been calling for weeks. So I'm hoping that guy gets some run. They also brought in Nesta Jade Silvera from the Raiders. They brought him in today, and I guess he got released. He got let go from the Raiders, but he was a guy that I was looking at during the draft process, and I had mocked him a couple times to the 49ers. Plays kind of like it's similar to DJ Jones, like 304. He's very strong. He's like a fire hydrant in the middle of that defensive line. So he's a guy that could bring some energy. I do like him. Evan Anderson, I just want to see this guy get some playing time. I think beefing up that defensive interior could help a lot with the run, against the run, and could help some of those edges maybe have some time to get to the quarterback. What else? McNiner says, I have a question. All these assistant coaches we lose, is it they leave to get promoted, or is it they leave because working for Kyle isn't pleasant? I mean, most of them leave because they get promoted, because they're getting other jobs. But some of them have left because they didn't agree with the decisions being made. Wes Welker left because he didn't think Trey was the answer. That was well documented, and he turned out to be right. There was a bunch of coaches that year that left because they just didn't want to have anything to do with Trey Lance. And I shouldn't say a bunch. There was like 2 or 3. And they all, but there was all rumblings that coming from within that he was not the one. And a lot of us were just like, they're not really good coaches anyway. Nobody was paying attention to it. But I mean, Trey is still a third string quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys. So I wish the best for the kid, but it's just not looking good for his career. And Smitty says, I want Brown to hold the outside linebacker DB because of Campbell, because Brown reads the run good. That's absolutely legit. Like, and honestly, Campbell, he's bad. And he's just a shade of his former self. It's not that I don't think he has decent instincts. It's just that he has no athleticism left. And he just can't adjust to anything. If he makes the wrong decision, he's completely out of the play. And yeah, it sucks. It sucks. And Bebop's blaming the new rules on the kickoffs. It's not that I like the new kickoff rules, but I would say this. The 49ers are one of only 2 teams that have allowed a touchdown. Take that for what you will. I think our special teams just suck. We have always had a problem with special teams. I think we've had one season where our special teams was half decent, and then the very next season they stunk again. So I don't know. Rick, what's going on, my bro? Like, I appreciate you coming through, fam. And he asked if Demarcus Lawrence playing. He is not. Oh wow. Okay. Oh, Steve-O in the house. Appreciate you coming through, fam. Malik Turner. He's playing for. Isn't he on the Dolphins? I think he is. And McNiner's excited to see Cannonball Anderson play. I'm excited. I'm hoping he gets a lot of run. Steve-O says, my audible take is, does it change the outcome? Having 2-year starter call audibles puts people's jobs on the line, but I think outside the box. I would say that it can't be worse than what's happening right now. We're expecting Purdy to make hot reads um, when, and some of those hot reads are away from, people are expecting him to throw away from the pressure. And he would have had to float a couple of those balls over the lineman. Like it to me, it was kind of a little silly, but and that's just not ideal. Do you want to? You're throwing hot. You just want to throw hot all the time because we can't, because he's not allowed to audible and he's not allowed to call his protections. Like, I mean, to me, I feel like he needs to get used to being able to call his protections. If not now, then when? I mean, the early part of the season was the time that he should have been trying that kind of stuff out. Because then, if you're 3-4, then you can always go back to the old way that you do it. Like, but now we can't try stuff out at this point. They have to get traction. They have to get wins. So if they're going to try stuff out like that, and it doesn't work. Now you're talking about everybody's going to be going at Purdy's neck. So I just think it's bad timing all the way around. Steve-O said that's why he heard that players only. That's why players only sign 1 year contracts. But I heard that people do that all over the league. That is not a thing. I guarantee you, there's a lot of players out there that would love to sign multi-year deals with the Niners. That's not a thing. Like the yeah, that just doesn't equate. They're a winning franchise. I mean, I know that they haven't won the Super Bowl, but there's a lot of players. This club is known for having a good culture and being a player friendly atmosphere. So I find that hard to believe. Oh, Malik Turner was? Oh, okay. I didn't even see that. Let me look at the. I just looked today, and I didn't see that. Let me look. I saw they got Silvera earlier today, but I didn't see anything about Turner. They're injured. Practice squad. We got Amos. Shade Silver. Oh yeah, he is there. Okay. Oh, I don't think that's the same Malik Turner that I'm thinking of. But that guy's probably not going to play. I remember seeing that, and I'm not thinking anything of it. If anything, I would have liked to see them bring back what's his name, the guy that they got from that they signed from the Panthers, uh, big old receiver, and I can't remember what his name is right now. It's escaping me, but yeah. So And I feel you on this. Like, how many QBs in the NFL can call audibles? That's valid. There's not a ton of great quarterbacks out there in the league that nowadays, but I would say this: if we're expecting Purdy to be that guy, he's got to be. I mean, they've got to do something. I don't even expect audibles. I'm more concerned. Like, I think that they just need to be able to. He needs to be able to motion guys in and out, like to undisguise the coverages that he's seeing. I'm expecting him to be able to call his protections. The audible thing, it like it's not so much the audibles as much as it to me as much as it is motioning guys around to create favorable matchups and to be able to call those like those hot routes and that kind of stuff. Like I just that's all for me. Like I just think that that's one of those things that I wish we could see some more of. Oh, he's not on the team anymore. I know he went somewhere else. But all right, so I'm gonna let you guys listen to. But as far as the Cowboys go, they're a dumpster fire themselves right now. Their defense can't stop the run. Let's just talk about it. Their defense can't stop the run. Their offense is not looking good. CeeDee Lamb is their offense, and Dak is not having the greatest of seasons. Their offensive line is terrible. It should be on paper, the 49ers should boat race these guys. Now, even with all the 49ers injuries. But at the same time, 49ers are just playing down to competition. They've been doing it all season. So who knows how this is going to look. I will say this. If they lose this game, and honestly, I feel like if they don't win it handily, I'm going to be even more worried about the identity of this team. That's just me though. But we're going to hear from I'm going to play Shanny's tape first from yesterday, his press conference, and then I'm going to give a little bit of my commentary on it.
All right, guys. Injuries for practice today. Jake Moody, right ankle, won't practice. Juwan Jennings, hip, won't practice. All right, guys. Injuries for practice today. Jake Moody, right ankle, won't practice. Juwan Jennings, hip, won't practice. Givens, groin, won't practice. Kittle, foot, won't practice. Odom, knee, won't practice. Debo, wrist/illness, won't practice. Trent Williams getting a vet day. Chris Conley, ankle, limited. Nick Bosa, elbow, limited. Jordan Mason, shoulder, limited. Go ahead.
Was Debo Samuel, in fact, pneumonia? Did it turn out to be pneumonia? And what is his prognosis?
Pneumonia. He's out of the hospital. He got in here yesterday. Doing better than you'd expect with that stuff. And we'll see how he goes throughout the week.
He's still got a chance to play on Sunday?
Yes.
Kyle, when I watched the film, there were some miscommunications between what looked like Brock and Bell and Brock and Ayuk, but it seems like Kansas City's defense sped him up quite a bit, and he had some things open underneath, and he got aggressive down the field. What did you see when you watched the film of Brock, and how would you evaluate him?
I think I've already said that. I don't remember any of the miscommunications that you're mentioning. There was a couple of shots that you had, just like you do through every game. We didn't hit any of them, though.
So doesn't want to answer the question.
You had a number of rookies that have already played kind of prominent roles, and maybe more coming here with some of the injuries and stuff. What is your sense of just kind of the confidence level of that group as a whole, and maybe the way they push each other to kind of produce?
I've really liked our rookie class. They've been strong since the beginning. The way they came to OTAs, I was real impressed with them through training camp. I am now. It was none of them really, with the thought of drafting him, didn't have starting roles. But we were excited how they practiced and everything. They knew they'd give us some depth, and now some are getting some opportunities because of injury. And I'm glad we have a good group there. I think they'll be ready for the challenge, and they seem like a tight group.
When those other guys see a guy like Pooney who does step into a role pretty quickly, and do you get the sense that those guys are like, hey, there is opportunity out here for me, even on a team that has a roster like this?
Yeah, I do. I mean, with Pooney, I don't think he thought it the first week or so, or at least OTAs, and then you have two guys go down in the first 4 days of practice, and it happens fast. So that's a perfect example for everybody. You try to tell stories like that all the time to these guys. Don't ever think it's a redshirt year. There's no such thing in this league, and it's not just rookies. It's the same for practice squad guys. Usually it's one injury away, but sometimes it's two. But it's a matter of time. Some guys can get lucky, and people stay healthy the whole time, and they can really develop the right way. But usually in this league, you rarely get that.
How much room do you feel like there is to improve on maybe setting protections against the blitz?
On what?
Setting protections against the blitz.
I don't know what you mean by setting protections against the blitz.
One play in particular.
You know what he means. Like this is the kind of stuff that really burns me up about Kyle sometimes. Is he's very the condescending attitude. You're losing. You have a losing record right now. When people are asking you questions and they're valid questions, you've struggled. You've struggled to protect Brock Purdy, and now we're gonna sit here and oh, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, what are you mentioning? Like, it's just silliness. But let's hear what he got to say.
Particular where there were two unblocked.
Oh yeah, when people blitz more than you have, you got to throw hot.
I mean, in finding hot answers, do you feel like Brock did well, or the offense has done well?
Yeah, we're usually pretty good versus the blitz. Sometimes they get you and they bring two to the back, and sometimes your quarterback doesn't see it and catches you off, and that's where you're hoping for. You don't have a sack fumble, but usually there's a hole right there and you get to it. But I think we've been pretty good versus that usually. We had a chance for a huge one last week. It was kind of what we wanted, and we were just about 3 yards off on the throw, and the catch by BA probably would have been a house call if we got it.
I know we've talked about special teams like every week for the last 6 or 7 weeks. So, what have you guys, I guess, going into this week focused on improving? And it doesn't seem like there's one culprit each week. It's usually something different each time.
Yeah, it's just continuing to work with all these guys. We've had to move a lot of guys around from our starting gunners at the beginning of the year, and now starting on defense. We've had to change our PP, our wings. I think our right guard, we've changed about 4 times. So there's a bunch of movement on those guys. So you just keep developing them. You keep working with the individual drills. You can't do all stuff full speed, especially tackling and things like that. But, we're emphasizing everything and trying to get our group better.
We've seen from the Cowboys on film, they're coming off a pretty big loss.
Yeah, they're coming off a big loss, right after their bye week. And they're in a situation similar to ours. They want to win and need to win as bad as us. So
I want to say what's going on to my guy Terror Dome. Appreciate you coming through, fam. You preaching. Kyle will absolutely second guess and double cross, thinking everyone thinks I should run. I'm gonna pass, and I've been talking about that for years now. Kyle, he just overthinks everything. And it doesn't matter what's obvious. It's just, I need 1 yard. Okay, well, I'm going to do a double motion right cross. And then I'm going to run, but then I'm going to run it straight ahead with juice. Like a lot of the time sometimes and I've said it over and over again, but sometimes you've got to trust that your guys are better than their guys. Get you a yard. If you don't have an offense, if you're not trusting that your offensive line can get 1 yard or 2 yards for that matter, then what are we doing? And are they really serviceable like you say that they are? It's 2 yards is not too much to ask. And then we might not be here. We could go on and on about this stuff. McNiner says, who calls the O-line protections? Oh, it's Brindle. It's Brindle, but yeah, Purdy's not allowed to do it. So, Rod in the house, appreciate you coming through, fam. Pete, what I'm, yeah, appreciate you coming out, man. Yeah, Bebop, he is absolutely pissed. He does not like having a losing record and having to answer questions like he doesn't know what he's talking about. He thinks that he should be past that. And yeah, it's wild. And it's absolutely a valid question. But all right, let's continue. And where is it? There it is.
I see it a very similar situation.
How has the mood been in the locker room and meetings? Have people pretty much flushed Sunday?
Yeah, I felt good today. I mean, Monday's always a rough day, but we spend a long time on Monday. I mean, we do that from early in the morning till really right when I'm done with you guys. After that press conference is the first time we move on, and then we see the players today. So they do their own thing on Tuesdays, and they came in today, and we've had good meetings. We just had a good walkthrough, and guys are ready for the week.
Malik Mustafa led the team in tackles, except for that one time where he kind of went head-to-head with Patrick Mahomes, and he dealt with that in a kind of comical way on social media. What have you seen from him and his attitude throughout his rookies?
Oh, he's been awesome. I thought he played a really good game.
Oh, real quick, Bebop, I appreciate what you're saying. Belichick with the press was worse, so absolutely he was. But guess what? He had that Kyle doesn't have, and the ability, because he wasn't like that in the beginning. He came in pretty humble, but after they started winning Super Bowls, he's like, really, don't question me. Like, I'm a 3-time champion. Like, why are you questioning me? Like, but Kyle can't do that. He can't say that. So it's it's just different. He needs to answer the question.
I thought he had one of the better games on our team. I thought he had some really good hits. He got in an unfortunate position on the goal line, but that's what I like about him. He's not going to sit there and take a creative angle. Even if he's not in position to have his legs under him, he's going to just throw his body out there and do whatever he can. And unfortunately, you got to deal with social media these days, but I haven't had to deal with it, so I don't know how bad it is for him, but I thought he had one of his better games.
Pearsall said afterwards that, hey, I'm ready to go again, but it could have been adrenaline talking after he played way more than he thought. Have you talked to him? What's his bounce back been like after playing as much as he did?
Well, I mean, he was healthy going into the week, so, it was just getting him back into stuff. And, I mean, the more he plays, the better he's going to get. So, I mean, he got that. You could see throughout the week in practice, and then it's only going to help him going forward, getting more reps in the game than anticipated with the guys going down. So I expect him to get more comfortable each week.
Kyle, on the hits that Malik's delivering, can you hear a difference on the sideline? They look vicious from up top.
Yeah, you can hear it. You can see it. I mean, he's one of those guys that we call a sprint tackle. He doesn't really, you have a long stride to eat up the grass and a short stride to kind of hit guys, and he's just long stride. He kind of goes right through them, and there's one speed, and that's the best way to tackle guys, as long as you don't miss.
Kyle, when you guys get up to a slower start than maybe you'd like, how much do you rely on the leadership and the captains to kind of keep the calm or keep you guys pointed in the right direction?
I mean, we got great captains. We got a great team. I mean, there's not, we've been in this situation before where not everything's going perfect and you're a little backs against the wall. But our group, our culture, it's never really been an issue. I've never had to make a big deal about stuff. And anytime that there is, I'll call guys in and address it. But our team's we know each other pretty well. I think they know me pretty well. And we got a group, a bunch of good people that don't blame each other and know what you got to do after stuff like this. There's only one thing. You can sit and talk and evaluate all this stuff, or you can get to work and find a way to be better the next week.
Kyle, right now, special teams is ranked 31st overall in the league.
I thought it was 32nd.
Numbers don't always tell the whole story. What's your take on the state of special teams right now?
It's similar to what everyone's been saying, similar to the numbers. We've been struggling with it. We got especially in the punt return.
They're terrible.
In the punt and the kickoff. Guys have gotten too big of returns on us. I know we gave up some blocks early in the year, which you got to get that corrected with certain techniques and everything. But we got to get a lot better at it. I mean, it's pretty obvious to everybody. It's obvious to us. It's been that way for a few weeks, and I can't give you guys one narrative on it because there's not one narrative. It's about working with everyone, holding people accountable, and coaching them up the best we can to get them better.
His numbers are down this year compared to last year. Is that just a function of the injuries around him, or are there things he needs to improve on?
I think last year was one of the best years statistically. I ever. Like when you look at just the efficiency of a whole offense. So I think it's hard to do that every year. I think when you're missing the NFL MVP, that doesn't help. Missing some receivers doesn't help them. But I think Brock's having a hell of a year statistically also.
You guys are struggling to run it in the low red zone. Is it more on the backs? You think more on the line? What is the film showing there?
It's everybody. It takes 11 guys to run the ball, and coaches work on that too. So it's all of us. It gets harder as you get down there. When you don't run it in on first and second down, it puts a lot more pressure on the pass game. When you do better on the pass game, you get better run looks. So it's all tied together.
You're not opening the practice window for Christian, so is there a timetable here kind of over the bye week to reevaluate that?
Yes. Yeah, it's not this week, so hopefully it'll be next week.
With Ricky Pearsall, he seems to be kind of a unique skill set guy. Do you put in stuff specifically for him, or is he just, or as part of your offense, do you just kind of plug him in to spots?
I think he's wired to run every route as a receiver. I think Debo's the one who's more unique just in terms of using him as a running back and things like that. But Ricky is a plug and play with all routes. It's not like he has a small route tree and only can do certain things, so he can run the whole tree.
Is he proficient at all the three spots?
He hasn't practiced a lot. He knows how to do it on paper and stuff, but just like everyone, you need a lot more reps to be able to do all three spots. But he did a good job adjusting in the game. He went in the game only playing one spot, and a couple injuries happened, just like always, so you got to be prepared for next man up, and he didn't have any busts at the new position, so that's what you always do. You only get 5 up on game day, sometimes 4. We try to get 6 if we can, roster-wise, if we have some injuries, but that's how wideouts are. You got specific spots for guys, but someone goes down, and you got to roll everyone to other spots.
I got another special teams question, but on Hardman's long return, I noticed he caught it closer to your guys' sideline. There are like 8 guys on that side of the field, Hunter, and then like 2 guys. Was that overloaded to that side of the field, or is that how it's supposed to be?
No, it's because that's where their offensive guys were, and that's where their return was. They were going that way, and so there was nothing there, so he just went on his own the other way. And when he goes on his own the other way, and the whole offense and defense of special teams is on the left, we get ever 2 on-block guys on the right, turn it back in, and they both slipped, so they weren't able to do that.
Any indication whether Kittle's foot sprain could be something that could keep him out?
I hope not. They can't go today.
Thank you.
All right. So that's it for Kyle's. And so very defensive as usual. And some of it he was just answering the questions. I get it, but certain questions, of course, he's going to be a little defensive. And the sad part is that, and I know a lot of you don't like Grant, but Grant asked the best questions. Grant asked the questions that we want to hear. That's why Shanny can't stand him. That's why the players can't stand him, is because he answers questions that they don't really want to answer. And Kyle talking about, it was basically execution. Again, there was nothing in what he said that led me to believe that they are going to do anything differently. And maybe that's by design. Maybe he just doesn't want people to think that he's going to do anything differently. And then we'll see something different come game time. That's all we can hope for. Because, and I see you, Rod, don't think I forgot your, comment. I was waiting for the press conference to end. But he says the press needs to ask the tough questions to the guy with the most talented squad in the league, hold him accountable. Now, this part, I got to say this. He's got a ridiculous amount of injuries. It's a lot. It's a lot of injuries. And I don't expect, this is the thing is, I don't expect Kyle to put up the same numbers. I expect Kyle to score when it's obvious that he has an opportunity to score. When they're running, when they have momentum and they're making, and there's an opportunity to get a touch, I question the thought processes on some of the play callings that he makes. And just some of his decisions as far as the, not even so much the play design as much as it is we're questioning why he doesn't give Brock a little bit more power and let him, because you're already decimated with injuries. Let your quarterback see if he's got it in him to be able to call his own protections. I'd be interested to know if Brock did it in college, because if he did and he's used to doing it, like that would be something that would be good to know. I don't know if anybody else knows that out there, but oh yeah. And Rod said the same thing I did too many times. Press asked softball questions to Kyle. Honestly, they're not. So a lot of these questions aren't even softball questions. It's the way Kyle answers them. Like he just, and they let him get away with it. Like there's every now and then they have a follow up, but for the most part, he and whenever they do have a follow up, he just kind of admonishes them and basically treats them like what's wrong with you? Like, are you stupid? And that's the kind of attitude that he brings. But all right, I want to bring up. I got to make this quick, but I'm going to bring up Brock Purdy's. I'm going to bring up Brock Purdy. We're going to hear from Brock what he said today, and then we're going to get out of here. But it's 10 minutes. But let's go. Let's get it.
Talked a little bit Sunday. It wasn't your greatest game. When you review it, is there a theme or things you could point to of like, this was what's going on?
I mean, there's a couple things, and I think more than anything, it's just a mindset, of going out and when you get an opportunity, defense does their job. So you got to capitalize on those situations and execute. For me at quarterback, it just comes down to being aggressive and making the right throws and being accurate with the ball and stuff. So that's really just what it came down to. And so it's a 4-quarter game of you have to play team football, and like I said, when our defense does those kinds of great things and gets stops, you got to capitalize on it, especially against a good team like the Chiefs. And so I had to learn the hard way, but I mean, for me, I go and watch the film and I'm real with myself and don't dwell on it or anything. Got to learn from it, but man, we got another game Sunday for another opportunity, and so it's another shot for me to go and prove to myself that I can grow and get better. So
there was one play where they walked an 8th guy into the box, and then they added a 9th guy to the box. In that situation, they're giving you that kind of a look. Do you have the ability to audible to a pass play and go to something different? What are your limitations at the line?
Usually we just have an answer built into the play, and so if we do have like an all-out blitz or something, we usually have an answer of where I should be hitting or where I should be going. And there's very rare occasions where we walk up to the line and we get a look and it's, oh shoot, they got us. And then I'm supposed to randomly make up an audible. There's nothing like that. We usually always have an answer for pressures, all-out blitz, and things like that. So that's on me to get to the right guy.
So much of what
So he just told you all the people, all the people out there in Twitterland, that all the take guys that sit there and say, well, Kyle said on the Tim Kawakami interview that that he can absolutely do these things. Brock just told you how he's being coached. It's right there. It's right there in front of your face. I don't want to hear anymore about Kyle said this, Kyle said that. Kyle is a liar. We've caught Kyle lying a couple of times. And it's not even a question of does he lie. So that is absolutely, you just heard it. You just heard it from the horse's mouth. You just heard from the horse's mouth. He just told you how he is being coached and what he is being told to do. There is an answer. There's an answer. It's not, Oh yeah, I can absolutely change an audible if I want to, but I usually feel like Kyle's play is the best option, and there's an answer in Kyle's play. That's not what he said. That's not what he said. He said there is like there. That's just not what we do. We don't audible. That's what he said. So it is what it is. Let's keep going though.
What you do and had success with is timing based. When you're cycling through so many different receivers, what kind of challenge is that to get on the same page timing wise? And then a week like this week, when you know there are going to probably be some new faces in there, do you do more, say after practice, anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. When you got some young guys that come in and you're used to throwing to obviously like BA, Debo, JJ, and just you understand how they move in routes and their landmark and depths and just the timing of a concept and route. And then you get new guys coming in that you haven't got many reps with. It is tough. And so I think, this week at practice, throwing to Jake Cowing, more with Ricky, Chris Conley, those guys, it's been good just to, see how they move and they're getting in and out of their breaks and me being on time and leading them. So those are huge things that, you got to build on and rep throughout the week and practice. And so, during the game, man, if you get guys get thrown in there randomly, it is tough. But at the same time, like, you just got to make it happen. And there's always coaching of, hey, this is the amount of steps, the depth, the landmark. So you can go off those things. But at the same time, everybody runs a little bit differently. So it's huge for a quarterback and receiver to be on the same page in that regard.
Talk to them about, what you like on certain looks, if they have multiple ways they can run it. Have you talked to those guys about, on certain plays you like it this way?
Yeah, I mean, this week at practice it's been good. Just getting into certain situations and reps where we're thinking I'm gonna go to this receiver in a certain look, and then after practice, like running a couple routes or talking to those guys about, hey, this is what I'm expecting, and how are you seeing it as a receiver, and we just get on the same page, and I think that's huge. So. Like I said, we've got some young guys that are stepping into those roles, and for me, it's huge understanding how they think and then vice versa. So it's very vital.
Process. Did step into a role, kind of thrown into a role like that. Do you think that you're kind of uniquely qualified to talk to them about that and help them navigate all of that?
For sure. I mean, I think, just the 2.5 years of playing so far in this system, understanding my timing, my rhythm within this offense, with new guys coming in, I can definitely tell them, like, hey, this is what BA has done really well with JJ, Debo, and this is where I'm expecting you guys to be. So they're all ears. They listen real well. They're willing to be coached, which is great. And more than anything, we just want to win. So we got the right core group of guys, young guys coming in that are willing to do, what it takes and listen. So that's been the blessing with the guys that I'm working with.
How is the process of determining where to throw the ball different against man coverage as opposed to zone coverage?
I would just say man coverage, it depends. Are they doubling a guy? Are they not? What's the leverage? And then what's our matchup? Is it a linebacker on a tight end or safety on a tight end? Like, just there's a lot of things that go into that. And what's my best matchup in this situation? And obviously, there's a lot of other things that come into the factor with that, with safety, leverage, and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, man coverage is trying to find your best matchup and a guy that can create separation, versus zone coverage. You're just trying to be on time and throw to spots and windows. So I feel like that's like the biggest difference.
Topic on.
Sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
You seem like a guy that's pretty big on his faith. Having had a tough game against Kansas City last week and needing to kind of recalibrate, refocus, having to go up against the Cowboys, but kind of in the same scenario or situation as you just touched on with some of the younger guys as targets. How have you kind of relied on your faith to kind of get your mind back where it needs to be going into this one for the bye week?
Yeah, it's huge. Obviously, I know who I am and what my foundation's built on. So, for me, go through some tough games and games that you really want to win, for the guys that you're playing with, the fan base, everything. Like, you take pride in that and the position that you're playing. But at the same time, like, it's all, for me, I look at it as, man, this is all about growth and putting my faith in God and understanding that this whole thing's a process. I'm not going to get the result right now and then. Like, I got to work for it and grow. and maybe he's preparing me and our team for something down the road. And so that's how I'm looking at it. That's the hope that I have. But more than anything, that also pushes me to, be on top of my stuff today and push the guys around me, bring up the young guys, and continue to chip away every day at our process. We lost last week. We're not where we want to be, and but we understand that we have what it takes, and we just got to keep going one day at a time. And that's the faith that I have in. So.
Love that.
Topic on Sports Talk Radio is like, depending on how you play, will you get a $43 million a year extension or 58 or 62 or whatever? I don't know. I mean, it all sounds pretty good, but I mean, what does that even get into the back of your mind, during the season?
No, I mean, for me, man, like I had to play better against the Chiefs last week, and for me, I'm like, dude, I got to be better for my team right now, for the Dallas Cowboys coming up. I'm always trying to find an edge to myself in my game, not thinking about what next year holds. Like, dude, we're trying to win this Sunday and try to get our record to get going up, and that's where my mindset's at. I'm focused on my team in this year, and that's final. That's it.
Have a relationship with Dak where you would text him after he signed a $60 million a year deal, or are your interactions limited to just the 2 times you faced off?
Yeah, that just playing the game is all I've done interaction-wise and seeing him after, so that's it.
Let me ask you this. Because you've now faced the Cowboys in regular season and playoffs, so you kind of have a sense of what this rivalry is and everything. Going into those games, did people hit you up to try to fill you in on 49er Cowboys? Did like Steve Young or somebody try to get you fired up to beat the Cowboys?
It was more so just like our team meetings and stuff. College showed some games from like the 90s and the playoff game that they had played in 2021 and just what it meant going into our playoff game in 2022. So that sort of filled me in on, oh man, like, there's a lot of history with these two organizations. And I remember growing up just watching some games with them, and it just meant so much every time they played and faced off. So for me, it was the same thing as last year, and then even for this game, man, Sunday Night Football against Dallas Cowboys as a 49er, like it's really special, and so we all take pride in that and are thankful to be able to play in this game. And yeah, it's a rivalry, so there's nothing better than that.
On the ball to Conley against McDuffie one-on-one, it looked like you had Kittle open on the out to the flat. It seems like your natural thing is to be aggressive. Do you have to fight aggressiveness, attacking downfield with, conservative checking down? How do you balance that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, situational football. What's the matchup? Where are we at in the game? We're trying to move the chains. Are we trying to get a chunk here on a matchup that we like? It's handling all those kinds of things. And, for me, I like the press matchup against McDuffie with Chris. Chris and I, we've hit a lot of plays like that at practice, and so we just didn't connect on it. Looking back on film, he had George in the flat to maybe move the chains and get us in third and manageable. Those are all decisions and factors that, you got to watch the film and be like, all right, how can I be better next time? And so for me, I look at it not going, I should have done this or that, but looking at it like, all right, the next time I'm in this situation, let's think about it, and am I going to be aggressive, or am I going to take this check down here and manage it a little bit better? So those are the things that I watch in film. Thanks, guys.
All right. So typical Purdy interview, but I will tell you, I get pumped every time Purdy has an interview, and there's a reason. Like he just always says the right thing, and it really comes down to, I'm pumped at this point. I think that he's gonna have a good showing in this next game. Not only because I think that even if the Cowboys were at full strength, I think Purdy is going to have a good game on this next one. I think that he always talks about the film. I feel like he's a guy that's just going to continue to study, continue to get better, takes everything inward, holds himself accountable, and those are guys that you root for. You root for guys that don't necessarily have all the talent in the world, that they have to work for it. And he does the work. He puts in the work. So I want to see him succeed. I have a feeling. I just have a feeling we're gonna have a rubber band game for Purdy, and he's gonna show up and show out. So let's get excited for this next game. The Cowboys are ripe for the picking. I mean, the 49ers should be on fire. The locker room should be on fire this week. This is a must win. The Cowboys are limping into this game, and yeah, I mean, I think they're coming off a bye, but they're still limping into this game. I have a feeling that the 49ers are going to go in, like at least Purdy is going to go in and show up and show out. I can't speak for the offensive line. I think we might see a few different things in this game than we've seen in the past. I know Kyle doesn't think that he can go out there with the same offense that he's been running with Debo and everybody else, and expect these youngsters to be able to run the same routes. That's a recipe for disaster. I just have a feel like Purdy is going to do it, and the offensive line, they've got to figure this whole thing out. They've got to figure it out. No matter what, if Brindle's going to make the calls, he's got to figure it out, and Kyle has got to figure something out about making those reads. Purdy is going to have to make those hot throws. If that's what they're expecting of him to do, then he's going to have to do it to the point to where it's obvious that they need to do something else. But I appreciate everybody coming out. Rod, Steve-O, McNiner, you guys are great. Smitty, appreciate you coming through, fam. Bebop is always a pleasure. The Roberto, appreciate you coming through. Who else? Oh, Terror Dome, always a pleasure, bro. And I think that was it. I want to say, Rick Diaz came in. Appreciate you coming through, fam. But I will see you guys again on Sunday right after the game. And just remember, I'm critical. You're critical of different. You might be critical of different things, but always leave an opportunity for both things to be correct. There's always gray areas in every argument, and especially in sports. So us going at each other on Twitter and like all the other stuff and social media in general it's not productive. It's not productive. We can have conversations. We can talk about things and make comments on social media without it not always necessary for you to come over the top and dunk on somebody and tell them that they don't know what they're talking about. Because it might just be something that you didn't think about. Or it's just not confirming your biases and you don't want to be wrong. But leave yourself open to new information. Leave yourself open to thinking a different way. I think that's what's missing it's definitely missing on Twitter. But honestly, I mean, without getting too political, I think that's what's missing in our country overall. But I appreciate everybody coming out. Make sure that you give the video a like. Make sure that you give it a subscribe. Make sure that you hit the bell so you get the notifications for when I go live. And we're on Twitter. We're on Facebook. We are on Twitch. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. And if for whatever reason, you don't want to watch the video, you can always catch the audio version. I don't care where you get it, just get it. And at the end of the day, we just got to get this victory. So you guys have a good rest of your week. Have a good weekend. Hug your loved ones, hug your friends, and just show everybody you love them. But I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a good one. And as always, go Niners.